Marie Curie was born Maria Sklodowska on November 7, 1867, in Warsaw, Poland. She was the youngest of 5 children. Her parents were school teachers. Maria was a star student in her class. After graduating at the age of 15, Maria hoped to get an advanced degree, while her brother Joseph was able to enroll in the medical school at the University of Warsaw. Women were not allowed to. In 1891, she moved to Paris to continue her education, where she attended the Sorbonne and changed her name to Marie. She soon realized that neither her math nor science background or her ability to speak technical French equaled that to her fellow classmates. Refusing to let go of her goals, she was determined to overcome these drawbacks through hard work. Marie finished first in her class in her master's degree physics course in the summer of 1893, and second in math the following year. Having little money stood in the way of her math degree, but senior French scientists recognized her abilities and were able to help her by awarding a scholarship. In Paris, she met her future husband and collaborator, Pierre Curie. Pierre was lab chief for the Paris Municipal School of Industrial Physics and Chemistry. Marie and Pierre shared lab space, and eventually he gave Marie a lab of her own. In Marie, Pierre found an equal with a comparable devotion to science. The birth of her 2 daughters, Irene and Eve, in 1897 and 1904, did not interrupt Marie's intensive scientific work. She was appointed lecturer in physics at the École Normale Supérieure for girls and introduced there a method of teaching based on experimental demonstrations. In 1904, she was appointed chief assistant in the laboratory directed by Pierre Curie. The Curies would work together and combine to receive the Nobel Prize in 1903 for their research with radium. The Curies published in detail all the processes they used to isolate radium without patenting any of them. Radium was tightly linked with the Curies. Pierre's pioneering work on the effects of radium on living organisms showed it could damage tissue, and this discovery was put to use against cancer and other diseases. Health and financial concerns were not the only problems to plague the Curies as Marie finished up her thesis research. Hardship would soon follow Marie once again, with her husband dying in an accident. Pierre's life ended tragically on April 19, 1906, when he slipped and fell in the street. His head was crushed by the wheel of a horse-drawn car. Marie took over his classes and continued her own research. It was the first time that a woman would hold an important university research position. She would work harder than ever and receive much prestige. She won the Nobel Prize again in 1911. In 1921, accompanied by her 2 daughters, Marie Curie made a triumphant journey to the United States, where President Warren G. Harding presented her with a gram of radium, bought as the result of a collection among American women. In addition, she had the satisfaction of seeing the development of the Curie Foundation in Paris and the inauguration in 1932 in Warsaw of the Radium Institute, of which her sister Bronislawa became director. Marie Curie died on July 4, 1934, of aplastic anemia, believed to be caused by prolonged exposure to radiation. She was known to carry test tubes of radium around in the pocket of her lab coat, and her many years working with radioactive materials took a toll on her health. It is even said that her notes are still radioactive. After her discovery of radium and polonium, World War I broke out in 1914. Curie devoted her time and resources to helping the cause. She championed the use of portable X-ray machines in the field to help in treating wounded French soldiers, and these medical vehicles earned the nickname Little Curies. One of Marie's outstanding achievements was understanding the need to collect intense radioactive sources, not only to treat illness, but also to maintain a large supply for research in nuclear physics. The resultant stockpile was an unrivaled instrument until the appearance of particle accelerators in the 1930s. Marie Curie has been called the First Lady of Science because she was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, but also the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes. As we look at the number of firsts Curie experienced, it is important to note that her achievements were accomplished in a time that discouraged women from participating in rigorous intellectual and scientific investigation. In its typical use, the title First Lady often refers to a role subservient to and deriving influence from an elected political spouse. But Marie Curie was subservient to no one, and her influence in her own day and in ours results directly from the power of her own intelligence and the strength of her character that made her persevere and succeed when much was stacked against her. In Marie's case, her giftedness proved itself in her constant search for knowledge. She was persistent, goal-directed, and independent in her work. I was surprised by how motivated she was to earn an education in a time when women received so little. While her knowledge and perseverance helped her break barriers, it still shocks me how much she was able to do. She did not care what the social norms were, and she was willing and able to go against them to succeed. As teachers, many of us find ourselves encouraging our female students to pursue interests in mathematics and the sciences. We are able to point to women who achieved in these fields, and that began with Marie Curie. However, we still continue to battle against gender-based stereotypes, which proves just how far we have yet to go. Marie was aware that she was a pioneer as a woman in science, but that was not her main concern. What motivated her was the pleasure and beauty of science and the satisfaction she earned from making something previously unknowable known. It is a motivating force we can challenge ourselves to instill in all of our students.